Another episode, another podcast.
Yes, sir.
All right. Last of Us episode 4. Please hold to my hand.
Please hold to my hand.
Is the name, not a typo. That is the name of the episode.
Yeah,
Max, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Was can't have all of them being bangers, right?
You know, look, we're not saying that this wasn't a banger. We're saying that this just was probably the weakest out of the 4, but
Yeah.
the other episodes are strong. This one is a strong one. It's just not as strong.
Yeah, it's laying some groundwork.
Yeah.
This episode was directed by Jeremy Webb, who did this episode, and he's doing next week's episode 5 as well.
Okay.
Which makes sense once we go through. You obviously why the same director for the both episodes.
Right. All right. Well, before we get into it, thanks once again to our patron producer, Knight Rider 169. Thank you so much. Without your support, this podcast might not survive.
No, we wouldn't be here.
Okay then. So this episode, let's get into it. We're gonna go spoilers, obviously. Spoiler alerts. We're gonna start saying spoiler alert, I guess.
We've been forgetting, but it's okay.
This whole podcast is a spoiler alert, so let's just move on from that. All right, so this episode does not start with a soft open, which I'm pretty bummed about. I thought maybe last week's was just we didn't get one because most of the episode was a flashback. So kind of said, all right, we understand why there wasn't a flashback in the beginning of it. I'm bummed that there was no flashback in the beginning of this one.
So was I, and this episode is the first one that it's all based in the present time. There were no flashbacks in this episode. But let's go. That's 2 weeks in a row. So now we're at the assumption that there probably won't be any soft or cold opens anymore. Maybe season finale shows like to do that. Give you a little something like beforehand.
It seemed like a formula I was really hoping they were going to stick with because I liked it.
Me too. I
like seeing obviously the start of the pandemic, but then also like to see the background of some of the characters, maybe how they I guess met each other, how they kind of got in the situations that they're in now.
Yeah, they had opportunities both episodes to do that, and they chose not to. So
I think they're going to come back. I think you'll see some more soft opens. I think you will.
Hopefully.
But anyways, I think we spent enough time on the soft open stuff. So all right, so let's get into this episode. We're going to do a little play-by-plays, give our, from what we remember, and then, kind of give our feelings on the certain scenes, how they play and stuff, at least to us, and we'll just kind of keep rolling.
We just watched it. It wasn't that long of an episode. It was like 45, 50 minutes.
That's shorter than that. I think it was 30 minutes because you still have like the credits and then you got the little trailer stuff that they show at the end of it. That's all counted for. So it says 45, but my guess is you can knock off 5 minutes of that for sure. Maybe a little bit more than that. But anyways, it was one of the shortest episodes. But it starts off with Ellie kind of playing taxi driver in the mirror. Yeah,
Dirty Harry.
Little Dirty
no
Harry.
Words, just staring at her gun that she got from Bill's. And it's to me, it's like, her infatuation with guns and this kind of stuff. It's like, I thought she went to military school. Wouldn't you think she's been around guns enough where it's not like a cool novelty to her? It's like, oh, been here, done that before.
I mean, you're the one who says that, there's no shooting ranges you don't think over in like Fedra and stuff. So maybe she hasn't held a lot of guns.
It's military school.
But you know what? Probably military school, they don't have mirrors in front of them while they're holding the gun, so she can't see how badass she looks. So she's into it. At least we can say Ellie took a gun that's... At least she took a gun.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
We're going to come up to that point.
Yeah. So anyways, she has her little time in the mirror playing taxi driver, and then she comes out. We see Joel siphoning gas.
Yeah.
They have a little conversation. This is the first of their kind of banters that kind of play out in this episode, which I kind of like because we're starting to see a little bit more of their relationship.
It's relationship building for sure.
Yeah, and it's what, I said it a bunch of times. That's what I felt was so powerful about the video game, and what was going to drive this show was going to be the relationship between Joel and Ellie. And so now we're kind of getting to see that, like their banter a little bit, her kind of throwing out the jokes, which she does in the game.
Yeah.
In the game, when you're not doing any combat and stuff, she'll read out of, or she does read out of the book.
Yeah.
But then she'll just throw jokes out there ever so often. That, like,
I call it Corny Ellie.
Yeah, Corny Ellie. But that's one of the personalities that I like about the video game so much. So I'm glad they're kind of introducing that into the show finally.
Because we've seen Psycho Ellie. Now we see a little bit of corny Ellie.
Corny Ellie, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so she's, let's see, we wrote down the book, right?
Yeah. No puns intended to, TOO.
Or is it part 2? Oh, no, intended to. Okay, yeah.
Your typical corny joke, like my daughter, she's like 7. She has like a book of 100 corny jokes, and to her they're all phenomenal, but she keeps telling them to me, and I feel how Joel is. It's like, ha ha ha, these are horrible, but whatever. It's
all right. Well, here's joke number 1. Okay, no matter how much you push the envelope, it will still be stationary.
Ha ha ha.
Joke 2. What did the mermaid write in her math class? An algebra. And then joke 3. I stayed up all night, and then it dawned on me. These are the 3 jokes that she says, which are, they're funny. Anyways,
some of them are from the game directly, like the envelope one, right?
I don't remember. I think I believe one of the later ones is for sure. I remember that. Yeah. I don't remember the stationary one. But anyways, so now we get there. Now they're actually in the car after the whole scene with them and telling the jokes, then siphoning the gas and everything like that. And then the scene in the car is actually ripped straight out of the game, which is kind of nice. So she goes and she finds the
Hank Williams tape.
The Hank Williams tape. That's right. Alone and Forsaken.
Mm-hmm.
She finds that, gives it to Joel, and the dialogue I think is verbatim from the game itself. And then she does find the gay porn mag, right?
Yeah. The Curiosity of Bill.
Yeah, the Curiosity of Bill. She makes the joke about the pages being stuck together. I mean, that's all straight out of the game. So that was pretty nice to see that in there. But what's different is after that scene, they drive and Joel decides to pull over and camp out.
Yeah.
So in the game, I believe they go straight to Pittsburgh, but in the show, they're actually just going to pull over, rest a little bit. And you do see a thing where Joel kind of like, not kind of, he does, or he gives her the impression that he's more scared of raiders and people than he is about the infected right now.
Yeah.
So she says something about she wants to light a fire. He says, no, why do you think I'm not going to why I'm going to say no? She says, because the infected are going to see the fire. And then he comes around and says, no, infected are too stupid basically to see it.
Yeah.
He's more worried about people.
Yeah. You can see fear in her too. A little bit when talk about the people.
Yeah, well, she's got to have fear in general. This is the first time, like she's outside of the QZ and everything. But he seems really paranoid about that. Yeah. And paranoid enough is then after when they're sleeping, I don't think he goes to bed. Like he stays up.
He stays
time.
Up a little bit.
He doesn't.
He probably hears something, I'm assuming, and just like on alert.
So let me ask you this though: do you think he's just up? Do you think he's alert because he's just frightened for the people coming, or do you think he's just alert because he feels like there's like this relationship building between him and Ellie?
He has to be a little more protective.
Yeah. Maybe
I think it's a combination of both for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, 20 years in this world, he knows, because last week's episode, he warned Bill about raiders, right? And I think in these post-apocalyptic shows, in the initial stages, it's the infected that's the real issue, right? You don't want to get infected. They're killing people. Why not? But over time, the infected become more of an obstacle, and the real fear is people who survived and who are left over, because then there's no real structure, government. People are really more harsh and raw, right? And take more chances, and it's more. People are more dangerous,
right?
And almost every post-apocalyptic TV show, movie, you end up fearing the people who are left, who are, you can't trust people. It's just, I think that's more, if I would say it's probably 60-40, he's afraid of the people more than, I have to protect this girl.
Okay.
That's how I look at it right now. What about you?
I'm with you. I kind of want to read joke 4, but I believe I'm with you on that one. Joke 4, ready?
Go ahead.
Why did the Scarecrow get an award?
This one Joel actually got.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get it. I guess he obviously heard it, but he figured it out. He's playing along by this point already, right? This is like four. This is the 4th joke you said?
This is the 4th joke.
There you go.
Why did the Scarecrow get an award?
Because he stands out.
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Ha ha ha.
Now, I don't remember, and then we'll do more of a deep dive, obviously, on Wednesday, but I can't remember. Does he mention maybe at some point that the reason why he knew some of these things is because his daughter was kind of into this kind of stuff?
I mean, possibly, but like I said, fathers, or if you have kids, at some point they're into these corny jokes. So
my daughter is too.
Yeah, so he probably has experienced this with his daughter, and maybe that's why he's softening up a little bit and playing along. Because to Ellie, if you see her, Bella Ramsey's facial expression, she's having a ball with these horrible jokes, right? There's one, like when he was siphoning the gas, she's like leaning in, like, you know, like really into it. So
like creepy.
He's just playing along.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's good to see that kind of side of her, that kind of personality stuff, kind of like, you know, seep into the surface. It's nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from that scene. So after Joel spends I'm assuming spends all night, yeah, just kind of watching over her. She wakes up and a little side thing. She's introduced to coffee.
Yeah.
You know, she's not a fan. She smells it. She says it smells like burnt shit, which is a nice thing to say.
Yeah, and he just enjoys his coffee. He's still drinking it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of Joel's thing. He loves coffee.
Yeah.
It's known in the game, part 1 and 2.
Yeah. But it leads to a really good conversation.
It does. The conversation in the car. Yeah, he kind of gives more of a background of Tommy.
Yeah, great backstory there.
Yeah. He kind of goes into like how Tommy kind of wants to be like a savior.
Yeah.
That's why he joined the army. Didn't quite work out for him. But then after, like, I don't remember exactly word for word, but he talks about how, like, I guess after the outbreak, they kind of join with other people and stuff like that. He kind of just tries to find his place. He finds Marlene. Marlene introduces him to the Fireflies.
Well, even before then, he says he credits it was Tommy's idea to join that group to head up to Boston, where they met up with Tess.
Yeah,
and then they started running their little, gambit, whatever they were doing.
Right.
And then he meets Marlene, who gets him into the Fireflies. On Wednesday, we'll be pulling scenes, so I definitely want to do a deeper dive in this whole section because it's really good, meaty information.
Yeah. Well, going back to the soft openings, I'm really hoping that, because eventually we're going to see Tommy. I mean, that's an obvious. I'm hoping the episode that we see Tommy, maybe in the beginning of that episode, we see
that would be great.
The soft open with Tess.
Yeah, that'd be
and
awesome.
Him, and maybe Marlene.
Yeah,
and Joel, like the four of them, kind of like maybe like a conversation they're having a little bit to kind of give an idea of what the four of their relationship was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it a little bit later. There's another scene here, but in the episode, Joel kind of references that it was, in the beginning, it might have been more than just the three of them with Tess, Tommy, and Joel himself. It seemed like there was a group because he was, in this episode, when he was talking to Ellie. So they probably were a group, and obviously people either died, got infected, all kind of things, and it willed down to the three of them.
He does also reference later on in the show, he does actually reference that he was part of a group that kind of did some bad things to bad people. So I wonder if that is the same group he might be referring to. But anyways, we'll keep going. Yeah. So now they're in the car, they get to their destination. Kind of, they get stopped. They hit like a roadblock, and they're in Kansas City. So they decided, I guess they're not going to Pittsburgh in the game. They go to Pittsburgh, but I guess in the show they're going to Kansas City.
Okay.
So when they hit the roadblock, Joel decides he's going to turn around and go more into the city to try to get around the roadblock. And so then for a split second, you do see the abandoned QZ. So now that they know that, like...
I'm surprised he did that. Because, like, previously, the QC was outside of Boston, because obviously major cities have, more people, right? More possibility of the infected.
Well, Boston looked like it was bombed, though.
It was bombed.
But Kansas City doesn't look like it was bombed.
It didn't look like it was bombed.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty risky to go into a major city, right? I'm surprised he didn't, find another way around. Like, he's risking it to go in front of a ton of people. You have Ellie, who's technically not trained in combat, and if someone catches her with the bite, they're gonna kill. It's like, it was very risky for me that you would go into a place where there's population or a lot of infected.
Yeah. Well, that's where
it's very risky.
That's where it's kind of tough, because we're talking about a TV show that parallels a video game.
Yeah.
And in the video game, that's exactly what he does, is he goes into the city. So it's kind of like, well,
it's crazy.
Guess you got to go that route.
There's other ways, man.
I know, but we're not even
Yeah, let's go.
That's one of let's just say that's one of maybe 3 things we noticed that Joel did that was stupid in this episode.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the next one right now.
Right now. So anyway, so he passes the QZ.
Yeah.
And then they see, and this scene is actually in the video game as well, when an injured person heads towards the car.
Yeah.
And he tells Ellie to put her seatbelt on, and then she goes, "Why aren't we going to help him?" And she goes, "That guy's not hurt." And it looks like there's a couple raiders that are they start attacking Joel and Ellie in the car.
Yeah.
So Joel and Ellie, they crash into, I think the game it's a convenience store, but in this,
it's a laundromat.
In the show, it's a laundromat, right? And so now you get to see Joel fight off some raiders. He tells Ellie to kind of go in a wall and go hide into the other
room.
I guess the other store that's connected to the same shopping center or whatever. So Joel pulls out his bolt action sniper rifle. Well, okay, we'll just say maybe that's his gun of choice that he pulled out, because maybe he decided not to pull out the other guns that we're assuming that he would have taken.
Did you see Bill's wall
of you just left
everything you needed.
Yeah, so you left the ultimate prepper's house who had a wall of really nice guns, semi-automatics,
fully automatic probably.
Yeah, we had all kinds of nice weapons, but yet you took just the sniper rifle, the bolt action, not even extra handgun.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
You could have grabbed something with a magazine that would have been a game changer, because the other guys are firing one shot. Imagine you pull up and you had an AR and, it's semi-automatic or automatic. They would run away because they're like, oh, this guy's heavily armed. But he chooses not to.
At this point, we're kind of just assuming. We don't really know for sure if he didn't take a gun. It's we find out later he definitely didn't. Yeah. Anyway, so he knows how to fire a gun now, which is awesome. He kills 2 guys pretty quickly. And then a guy gets a drop on him. We kind of find out because Joel's kind of hard of hearing, I guess. That's why the guy got the drop on him. So now Ellie's got to pull out the gun that she stole. Yeah. She climbs back through the wall, and she looks like when she aims, it kind of looks like she shoots the guy in the lower back, butt. I don't know.
I think it's lower back because the way the guy was holding his
Anyways,
let's assume it's his lower back.
Yeah. But you do see a side of her that I didn't think we were going to see, because she seems so infatuated with violence. Yeah. And, the way that she looked when Joel beat up the guy, the way that she acted with the infected guy in the basement of that
the Cumberland Farms.
The gas station.
Yeah.
She just seemed like a person that was just infatuated with violence. But then when it finally came time for her to actually act on it, it was pretty emotional for her.
Yeah. She actually, you saw her kind of not shake, but she was a little hesitant. And then after she shoots him and the guy begs for his life, offers all his stuff, his knife, bring me to my mom, all this and that. Joel tells her to go back into a hole because Joel's protecting her from seeing that he has to kill the guy. Yeah. You see her get behind that wall and she's kind of crying, and then she wipes the tears away.
She's crying for sure, yeah.
She was, right?
Yeah.
And then Joel kills the guy with
it sounds like his knife, yeah.
With the guy's knife to save a bullet. So there, like you said, there is some emotion there. So it's not too much psycho Ellie right there.
Which was good to see.
Yeah, it was good to see. Maybe because it was a human, this time around, rather than an infected.
Right.
Okay.
Well, so then after that scene, Joel he gets back together with Ellie on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
For some reason, Joel doesn't like grabbing other people's weapons. He doesn't grab the shotgun that the guy was using to choke him out, which is another really shocking thing. Why not have 2 guns?
Yeah.
Whatever. That doesn't happen. So anyways, let's move to the next scene. So the next scene we see is we get to meet Kathleen for the first time. And so this is a new character that was not in the video game.
Yeah.
Right? And so they kind of made her, it seems like, to kind of, which I think we read or you saw, to give a face.
Yeah. To a group of people who overthrew a QC zone.
Right. Because in the game, Joel and Ellie have to fight off these raiders in the game at this point in the game. And there doesn't seem to be a clear leader. I can't remember. Like I said, I'm going to replay this part.
Yeah, for Wednesday.
Yeah. And then so I don't remember there being like this is the dude who's in charge of every single thing. So it looks like they introduce Kathleen, and then we also get to see what's his name?
Perry?
We get to see Perry. So Perry, he voiced Tommy in the video game.
Jeffrey Pierce.
Yeah, and so he's a new character as well.
Yeah. It was weird, that scene, because they show you Rose in like a container interrogating.
Rose?
I called her Rose. She's Kathleen. She played Rose in Two and a Half Men. That's how I remember her from, right? So what's the actress name? Marlene Lansky? Is that what it is?
I think so. I'll double
Melanie Lansky.
Okay.
Melanie Lansky plays Kathleen, who was also Rose. I just love Two and a Half Men, and I just remember her being psycho crazy Rose. But
did you watch all of it? Like even when
Ashton Kutcher?
Ashton Kutcher?
Most of that. It took a little dip, but I just love that show. Anyway, she's interrogating who we find out was the doctor who actually delivered her as a baby, right? Her doctor. And she's looking for a group of people, and he's kind of like not providing information. She lets him know that her brother was in a container interrogation like this and got beaten to death from information that we assume the doctor had provided Fedra.
Right.
Maybe that's what led her to become the leader to overthrow Fedra here in Kansas City.
Right.
So the doctor's not giving her much information, and that's when.
But it doesn't seem like she's looking for a group of people, but it looks like she's looking for one person in particular, which is Henry.
Henry. She mentioned that name specifically, right?
Right.
She's asking if he's still in the city, this, that, and the third. And then right at that point now, she heads out because the group that she's with, they bring the bodies that Joel has killed. Right. You see the guy that Ellie shot, looked like his father is over the body, and she's assuming, because she says Henry has a radio, that Henry maybe called these people in that killed these people here, and she's basically orders the group to go and search and kill basically anything that moves that's not part of their group. Right?
Well, you're missing a point. For first, when they bring the bodies back, one of them's still alive. I can't remember which one it is.
Sort of alive,
yeah,
right?
So she makes a comment like, if I brought a doctor out here, and then the guy says, no, that's not going to do anything. So then she goes back inside and then shoots the doctor.
Yep. Because the doctor called bluff that she was going to shoot him in the interrogation.
Well, he was wrong. She goes in there and just, you don't see her shoot. Like, you don't see the bullet hit the guy, but you just see her just like, point to the container and shoot him. And then she comes back and then she says, go get the collaborators, I kill everybody, blah, 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 blah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when you see her interrogating the doctor, the doctor's like, well, the reason I told about your brother and the other people with Fedra is they had a gun to my head. She pulls out a gun kind of like hesitantly, and the doctor's like, you're not going to shoot me, kind of. Not, he didn't say it that way, but he's like, I was the doctor that delivered you. Like, are you seriously going to like kill me?
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few minutes later, she kills him, and then she comes back out and like telling her group to go and kill anybody. So you're like, oh, this lady is really not to be messed with. Like, the little hesitation you saw just a few minutes earlier is really not her. She's really about that life. Like, she'll do what needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, it shows that clearly there was like a tight group of people that were in the QZ, right? Yeah. So like, neighbors, family members, your doctor.
Yeah.
And then something obviously happened where people had to choose sides.
Yeah.
And clearly that kind of put a rift into a lot of things. And then you're also seeing now that obviously I guess you could say it was a revolution, or it was it was the rebels, whatever it was. They overthrow the QZ, but now they're kind of acting as if the government a little bit in a kind of a weird way. You know what I mean?
And it also looks like, obviously, these why do I say obviously all the time? It's you see it like
it's obviously bothering you.
Yeah, so. It is. That these QC zones really operate independently. Like, for them to get overthrown, it's not like another group of military or QC is going to come and help them out. You know what I mean? It's not like there's no National Guard coming in. Like, if someone wanted to overthrow like Kansas City right now, National Guard will come in and stop it. But it looks like these QC zones almost operate independently, almost like they're franchises. Like when you open up a McDonald's,
like a franchise of QZ, please.
Yeah, they give you the manual. This is how you operate McDonald's.
Yeah,
and it's like these QC zones have a manual manual. This is how you do it. And then, you know, if it goes to hell, that's on you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, most likely in the beginning of this whole, you know, virus situation, whatever, they were probably more tightly close together as far as communication.
Yeah.
And then as resources start to dwindle and then like your people start to like, you know, maybe lose faith in what's happening, or people die out and there's not a new regime to come in, so forth and so forth, they become more isolated. We're completely speculating. We're going off on our own worldness.
Now we're doing more of what we do on Wednesday, but anyway.
That's fine.
Keep going.
No, I like it. I like it. So next scene. So she tells everybody to go out and find the collaborators. And then now you see, where are we on this one? So we get the
we just saw angry Kathleen, aka Rose. Right. Now we see Ellie and Joel hiding in the high-low bar.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And then they have another little heart-to-heart kind of like conversations. And he feels bad that she had to like
Witness.
she had to act on, I guess, violence towards another person. Like he feels like she's a kid, that she shouldn't have to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so she kind of, you see her break down a little bit. She gets a little cry, which is, once again, it's nice to see again that she is not, you know, a sociopath. She actually has a heart, which is, you know, it's good. But then Joel decides to give her a shooting lesson.
Yeah.
Like she teaches her how to actually like fire a gun.
Because Ellie admits that this is not her first time she's hurt somebody. So that
does she do that right now? I don't think she does until the end.
Because he's like, you know, I know he mentions, you know, being your first time. And she's like, it wasn't my first time. And that's when he's like, okay, then here's a gun.
You're right.
You know, let me see how they teach you how to hold it in military school.
She does make a comment to him about, aren't you glad like that I did act violently?
And
like,
he doesn't
acknowledge, I don't think he doesn't even say thank you for saving my life.
He doesn't acknowledge it at all.
Yeah.
No. And he shows her how to properly hold the gun, and then he gives her a gun, and she's, again, ecstatic by this. You can see in her face. It's like a kid who just got a Christmas present, right?
Right.
And basically he tells her once they stop hearing trucks, they're going to leave there and go to a tall building that they saw for him to kind of scout out a way out of Kansas City.
Right out the front door, man.
Yeah. You know, and again, it was nice to see that at this point we realized that people are dangerous here, and he actually had to ask if she's all right, which is, you know, he's softening up now.
He definitely is softening up. So he says that she can have the gun. You got to put it in the backpack. Yeah. Obviously, she doesn't listen to him, and she puts the gun in her pocket. I'm going to throw that out there just because that might be relevant maybe in the next episode that she has the gun in her pocket. Who knows? All right. So the next scene, we see Kathleen and Perry. So they find Henry in Henry's brother Sam's hideout.
Yeah. Like an attic.
Yeah. It's kind of like, that attic doesn't look like it's been used in a very long time, but she acts like they just left. Yeah. Right? It doesn't seem like it's...
You saw some of the drawings, like Superman drawings of 2 Superman drawings on the wall, and you see a lot of cans open, and she says, you know, Henry won't let Sam starve. So at this point we realize Henry's older and Sam is probably a child. Yeah.
But she also tells Perry to put extra guards on the provisions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that way, because she thinks that they're going to go get some more food, so put some guards over there.
That's very smart. Then Perry has something else to show her. They go downstairs in a building.
Yeah, it looks like they go down the attic of the place or something.
The basement, you mean?
Yeah, the basement. Sorry. Yeah, they're in the attic. They go down to the basement.
And you see like a crater that's like pulsating.
Moving, yes.
Moving.
I think this is going to be the bloaters.
Yeah, and they're both kind of scared. And Kathleen tells Perry, don't tell anybody about this. Like,
yeah. And then she's
also panic.
Yeah, but she's also like, don't even worry. Like she implies, don't even worry about that right now.
Yeah.
Still
focused on this Henry and Sam thing.
So there's got to be another relationship there, because obviously Kathleen's a new character, right? She's not in the video game, but
Henry and Sam are.
But she seems like she's very invested in finding Henry and Sam. So there's got to be some relationship there. Maybe some family relationship.
And there's definitely some real anger there, because that whatever is pulsating underground is definitely a major threat. But to her, it's not imminent. So she's prioritizing Henry and Sam over whatever that is.
Yeah, there's got to be a background.
But she did say to board up that place, that building.
Oh, that'll stop that'll do it. All right, so hopefully we'll find out next episode what that backstory is.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're gonna see Joel and Ellie again. This time they've looks like they got into a building.
That building that they were scouted out.
Yeah, it's 45 stories high. They end up walking up to the 33rd floor
because Joel has bad knees.
Right.
Tess had mentioned that earlier. Like,
well, she says to try walking up with these, you need whatever she says.
Yeah, they have bad knees in this in this world.
So Ellie asks Joel if he's killed any innocent people on the way up, and so Joel doesn't say anything.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's applying for sure.
Yeah. I think he does bring it back up again when they're upstairs, but
after he breaks the glass.
Yeah, they have a little bit more banter and stuff like that. Still not as close to as good as what's in the game, but they go upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. She makes a comment. The banter that she says to him is something about get off your lazy ass or something like that in a joking manner. Yeah.
And then he gets up and he's like, I'm 56 years old, and he cusses at her, right?
Yeah.
Like a friend would.
Yeah.
So you could see the relationship is budding there. In pretty short time.
Yeah.
Right? A couple of days it's been.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just not it's building. Let's let it marinate some more.
Yeah.
So Joel breaks some glass. So I think you mentioned that. So I love the fact that he breaks the glass inside the room.
Yeah. What happens to the hallway?
If they've already opened the door, clearly if you're sleeping and they've opened the door, they have a line of sight on you, probably with a gun or something.
Yeah. It should have been behind the door, which would have gave you a chance to kind of go to a blind spot and ambush them when they come through the door.
It makes no sense at all. Yeah. No sense at all. But you know what? That's dumb mistake number 3 on my part for Joel. So we got Joel, who was with the guns. What were the 3 mistakes? It was the guns.
First of all, going into Kansas City. Going into a major city.
Going into the major city, not getting any more guns off of Bill's wall.
Or higher caliber weapons. Something. Or automatics or something.
Yeah. And then also breaking the glass inside the room.
Yeah. He's laying it inside the room like a few feet from where they're going to go sleep.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All right. So they go to they lay down, they go to sleep, they have more banter.
Well, this is important. This is kind of cool because if you remember when they were camping, they lay down. Ellie sparks the conversation, right? Starts the conversation. Now you fast forward to this time around. It's Joel.
That is right.
Which is it's part of that arc that's turning here. Like he now brings up. He's the one that. I don't want to say can't sleep, but he's initiating conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas in the beginning of the episode, it was her.
Right, and then he asks her. Like what? Like something like who she hurt, right?
Yes,
right.
And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. This is if you're piecing this together. Remember when they were walking with Tess in Boston? She kind of, you could see in her face that she lied about the night she got or the day she got bitten.
Yeah.
So there's something there. Now she doesn't want to talk about this. So maybe the two things are connected. When she had to hurt somebody. And she doesn't want to talk about that day. It's gonna be an episode that they're gonna reveal all that.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, now we get to the most exciting part of this episode, which
is
Joke 5. So Joke 5, did you know that diarrhea is hereditary?
Really?
It runs in your genes.
Now this joke is in the game.
This joke's in the game, and Joel actually knows the punchline to it.
Yeah. Again, and he starts laughing. Like we haven't seen positive emotion from the guy in 4 episodes, and this is like they end that scene where they're really like enjoying and laughing. And she drops that tidbit you mentioned earlier that you don't hear very well out of your right side.
Right. That's why you're not going to hear the glass break. And guess what?
Yeah. Ellie wakes him up.
Yep.
And you see somebody with a gun to her head, and then he turns over and there's a kid with a gun to his face. Kid's wearing like makeup, like a mask.
Yeah.
So you assume that's Henry and Sam right there. Cut to black.
Yep. Cut to black, and that's
it's a groundwork episode where they lay some stuff down for next week's episode, which is you have to do that in the course of a show. You have to build up. But I'm interested to see next week's episode to see if they could have combined them into one, because they've had like hour and 20 minute episodes. So let's see if it's worth them breaking it up. But there was good information.
Do you know
in here.
Do they say how long the next episode's going to be?
Oh, I could find out real quick.
If it's another 35 or 40-minute episode, then yeah, they totally should have combined them.
Yeah, right.
I mean, but overall, I mean, look, this is definitely the weakest out of the 4 episodes so far. But it's not. Yeah. It's not a bad episode because there's more character development for our main protagonists in this episode than there was in the previous episode. And we get Tommy, a little more of Tommy's backstory. More Tommy's backstory. You get to see Joel and Ellie kind of, starting to accept one another, and then they're more of a team now, as opposed to like, even though he does mention to her that she is cargo. Yeah. And he does say to her that she is still cargo. And we're going to dive into that scene our next episode on Wednesday. But even though he does say those things, the way that he's acting towards her and the way that she's acting towards him throughout this episode, they're becoming closer. And in my opinion, is what's going to make this show a lot stronger down the road. Completely agree with you. And we also get introduced to another element, a group. Yeah, that's going to play some kind of role in the next couple episodes. And then I'm assuming they're going to have a nice, because they introduce Kathleen and they introduce Perry. For what they did, like for the backstory that they created for Bill and Frank. I'm not saying they're going to do something like as crazy as that with with Kathleen and Perry, but I think that their backstory is going to have meaning. Yeah. And so it's obviously going to impact their journey going through Kansas City. And I'm curious to see what that actually is. Yeah, because you want to see how like someone like Kathleen becomes the lead of a rebellion. Yeah. And Perry, you can just see he looks military, like the way he's, If there is a soft opening for the next episode, I would like it to start with her. Yeah. I would like the soft open to start with her background. Yeah. What it was, who she was before. Soccer mom. Was she a soccer mom? Actually, was she the mom of maybe like Henry and Henry and Sam? Maybe like her friends were their friends. Maybe she dated their dad. Maybe like she's their teacher. Maybe like there was something. Like there's got to be some kind of a relationship there for her to want to go after this character. Yeah, it's going to be something. And next week's episode is 50 minutes long, so it's kind of almost the same length as this episode. So they could have combined it. They might have been able to combine it, take out some fluff. But I know we'll talk about it more on Wednesday. But it was very interesting that the dynamic we'll talk about between Ellie and Joel, in terms of Joel kind of viewing her as a child in this world, with pretty much like almost like how you would treat your daughter in terms of like innocence. Oh, you shouldn't be everything. But Ellie is kind of like, nah, it don't treat me like that. Like that last conversation when they're in the thing, he goes, a child shouldn't experience that kind of thing or deal with that. And she goes, is it better when you get older? And he's like, no, it's not. And it reminds me of, Black Panther, the last one, Wakanda Forever. Right. When the character in M'Baku tells, what's her name? Siri. Yeah. The world has taken away too much for you to still be considered a child. Like anybody in this world, it's hard to assume someone's a child because you have to be hardened, right? Right. Like things, you're going to see loved ones die. You're not growing up playing with Barbies and watching cartoons. So, but Joel, he's from the old world, so he still sees you're a child. You should still be like protected and sheltered as a child, where Ellie's like, nah, I don't need that. So we'll talk about it more on Wednesday, but that was very interesting to see that in this episode. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Got anything else you want to add before we wrap this up? No, it'll be cool pulling some scenes and talking about them next week, especially the Tommy stuff. Yeah, I know 3 scenes I want to pull for sure. Yeah. Hopefully they're different than your scenes, so that way it'll be like a longer episode. But anyways, Thanks again for everybody that tuned in. Don't forget to check out our other podcast, Still Holds Up. We just dropped
American
Ninja.
Yeah.
That just dropped yesterday or today. Either way.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter for you from whenever you listen to this podcast. It's out there. So go check. Go to Still Holds Up. Check out American Ninja and the other ones, or the other episodes we've posted. We'll be posting, I think, 2 a week for like the next month or so.
Yeah, we're going to be diving into Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then we're doing some Academy Award movies, winners, and ones we probably thought should have won.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun, leading up to the Academy Awards. So that's going to be fun.
My buddy Richard wants us to do all of the John Hughes movies.
I love those.
I'd be down for that.
I'm down for that too.
I'd be down for that for sure. Yeah. Thanks again to our Patreon producer, Knight Rider 169. And if anyone wants to help support this podcast, go on over to patreon.com/rotyourbrain media. And, show us some love. We'd really appreciate it. And also, if you guys saw anything on the episode that we missed, please send us a message. Let us know. We'll give you some credit on the next episode.
Yeah. That's what that Wednesday episode is for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our community grows with your help. So please, send us a message. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome.
Music composed by Kyle Torme. Additional bed music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Last of Us, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to The Last of Us podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Last of Us. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.